to do now is basically start filling out the HEI. You had to do that for homework, which I'm sure you've done, or not. So I'm going to get various people up. That's how I'm going to find out if you've done your homework or not. And you're going to come up and fill in a pro, a con and a question. And you're going to explain it to us as you do it. Alright, so who would be, first up I'll let you volunteer. Who would like to come up and explain what they've got in their pros for validity? Kate, come up, you've got to write on the board as you're explaining it. Just summarise it, don't make it really lengthy.
Okay, so I'll explain it first. It measures life expectancy, education, literacy and the use of schooling and income, so purchasing power in parity dollars, and you get a better picture rather than just the economic side of things.
Okay, alright, so summarise that for us. Okay, so who has something a little bit different?
I have that they're all equally valued.
Excellent, so they're all equally valued. Now, we're only going to get one person up for each one to write on the board, but you need to be marking your work, so as I always say, you need a red pen or a different coloured pen to be marking this work to ensure that you have really good notes. So they're all of equal value. What else? Anyone else with anything different? Alright, just check mine.
It's both material and moral development.
Yep. No, we're just going to put one up. Now, what's your con for that one?
They've left out certain indicators like environmental side of things, mortality, death rate, and birth rates and things like that.
Okay, political, so freedom, all of those kinds of things. Okay,
Demographics as well.
great. Anyone else?
I had environmental sustainability.
Excellent, and that is a really important one. So you need to make sure you've got that down. You need to have that environmental, but to take it that little bit further, as Alex said, you need to have that sustainability. Because if development isn't sustainable, if we don't look at, remember what sustainable development is, it's looking at the three, the social, the economic and the environmental. If we don't put as much value into each one of those, it's not sustainable.
I said that with the GDP there can still be a lot of inequality within the country.
Excellent, because, and that's an important point here and you must have this down, depends of the value, and we spoke about this a little bit yesterday, the value that's placed on each indicator, isn't it? So that if a country has a really high GDP, then that could relate to that flawed indication. And if economics is valued more than the social. Matt?
They focus more on national performance and ranking, not development from a global perspective.
Good. So we're not looking at a global, are we? We're looking at that national. Another good point. So if you haven't got that down, another one to put down. Emma?
So that hides like widespread inequality.
Excellent. So it's hiding our widespread inequality, and that can probably come down into reliability as well. But you could definitely have it up in validity. Okay, so can we have someone else up? Thank you.
Is it also
Can we have someone else up to put a question?
Oh yeah, I have a good question.
Okay, I just have to take this out.
Yeah,
Mr. Can you also say that it doesn't look at like long-term improvements?
Yeah, like we were saying, remember yesterday we were talking about this, and we were talking about that maybe it's better to look at it over a 5-year period rather than within that 1 year, because if a country is improving, sometimes it takes a fair amount of time for improvement to show, whereas in a year it might be hard to see some of our African countries actually improving.
Because development is about long-term change, or about changes, and you can't just see that over years.
It's about long-term change. So, okay, who's coming up to do the question?
Evie, there you go. Oh, one con I had for validity was it was redundant.
Redundant? Okay, and why is it redundant?
That's a good question. Because the information that has been done to collect this has already been
in other areas.
Yeah. And my question is, it's not really a question, it's kind of like an open-ended.
Rhetorical
Yeah.
question.
That's still a question.
No, it's not.
I don't know, maybe it might have already been like asked or addressed, but
She was so keen on it.
I wanted it so bad.
She's what developing.
Ooh, I don't know about that number.
kind of like a statement.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, good. So if development, it is a bit of a statement rather than a question, but close enough. So if development is all about happiness, I think an aspect of this should be measured in the HDI, such as our happiness.
I think it's...
Well, it's not really a question if you've got a question mark. Okay, all right. So number
The
2.
I is in a capital.
Let's have
And
someone
development
up
spelled
talking about the reliability.
That's okay. She's got the dates. It's all good.
Hang on. Okay, Michael, Alex, and Matt, you can do. Michael can do the pros.
I'll do
Matt
the con.
can do the cons.
Oh, I had a good con.
And Alex can do the questions. So I'll give you, so that we move this along a little bit.
I'll do that.
I'll give you.
Oh, stick to what you just given.
Okay, so here's different. See if you can get them up there.
It's a war. I love it how we had such neat writing and then there's like.
And for parsimony, who would like to put theirs up? Stella? Pros? Stella has a
I'm sorry.
Oh, Stella.
Stella!
This is stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Zoom in that one.
Jess?
I did mine. I was a good student. Unlike some other students that didn't do their homework. I did.
Claudia.
Oh,
Sorry that I have that. What is it? Assignment.
Jess, did you do your homework?
Not that part because I didn't understand what it meant.
No. Isaac? Okay, well you can at least do the pros.
I've
I
got.
think I did
one
it right
con.
though, like I don't think it's in the parsimony section, I think that's more validity.
I'll tell you when you put it up there.
I have one con.
Okay, Kate can do the con,
I have some
and you
cons.
can do a question.
Oh, I don't have
If you haven't done this, you better be filling it in because I'm going to check your work.
No.
I did the first one.
I'm not sure what is it.
You've done the first one, can I lie?
Yes, you can't lie when you're being asked directly to get up here to do it. But you need to be making sure you're putting this in.
Alex is writing
You
those.
do need to know this.
Can I read your writing?
Okay.
Yes.
Can't you finish, Joyce? Do you want to explain?
It's okay, I'm not judging you.
Quiet. Do you want to explain?
I said countries have the power to change results in order to gain monetary help, like aid, so countries
Excellent.
might lower their GDPs in order to get more aid.
Boys.
And I also said measurement methods can be flawed, such as using a census to measure literacy rate.
Okay,
So
good.
another,
Measurement. what-
Measurements can be flawed, such as literacy rate. Remember, we've spoken about that a couple of times, that Australia being an example. Well done. Good work.
Do other countries collect their literacy rate stuff from censuses?
Often from census, yes. Yeah. Sometimes, like with the HDI, because we're looking at school retainment, so whether they go through to year 11 and 12, we break it down to literacy rate. Sometimes it'll be looked at, the census could be looked at, depending on the country, retainment rates through the government.
Is that first con point just saying like the country can lie about their
Yeah.
rates and whatever?
Yeah, they can. They can fabricate. Okay, thank you, Paul. Hang on.
Countries.
You need to explain.
What does it say?
Alex.
which one?
Countries have these.
Getting his.
Have the power to change results.
Okay, listening. Matt.
First, because of
Yeah,
price.
let's go, Matt.
Alright, Matt.
Alright, so at the, when the countries, they put out the censuses and they get all the information back, it does go back to the UN, who, goes through the data, so they can check it if they do think a statistic is completely wrong. And also, most countries these days, we do have pretty good technology, so, we can put our censuses to the people to get fairly accurate results.
Okay.
So, yeah. So technology can help to make it easier and more accurate.
Good. So firstly, the UN then checks it and they actually make the calculations. And then, yes, we have fairly accurate results. Alex, your question.
How can we assure the info is accurate when the governments themselves collect the information?
Good. Because the end result is that it's just the UN who's actually formulating, going through the
also,
equation.
Is it possible for there to be one agency that measures all of them?
Okay.
And
Probably.
That's why they do rely on the
Yeah.
governments.
Exactly. And it's the only way you probably are going to be able to do it. Okay, well done. All right, final one, parsimony. So we're looking at the simplicity, basically, of the HDI. So those of you I asked to come up and do it.
Wait, Matt, Michael's a con man.
Oh my god.
It's not that funny.
I had a question also for
Change results to gain monetary.
I had a question also for reliability. Is there any
Can
other
we
way?
be listening to Evie, please?
Is there any other way that the data can be collected? Is there?
Probably not. It's
Like how
fairly
you
difficult if we don't rely on the
that's what I
government to
said.
collect that data. Anyone else be able to do a
I
question?
don't have a question, but
I didn't know how it's an effective.
I'll have a crack.
Effective or worse measures.
Give it
Well, like when you sat on the chair before.
Yes.
Sometimes you gotta have a crack at these.
Imagine if you fell.
That'd be so funny.
More so we're looking at the three factors.
Sneaky selfie.
Sneaky self.
Is
Sneaky
it
selfie.
too simple? Or is it... So you're looking at the cons, so... Very
Yeah, I throw in next one to to
What was your second point, Michael?
area, but then it gets so involved.
Yeah.
Measurements.
Okay.
How well I'm working right now.
It can be false measurement.
How well.
Yes,
Measurement.
Okay,
Such as using a
explain.
census in
You
order
need
to
to
collate
explain.
literacy rate results.
Okay, listening. Kate is going to explain the cons first. You need to be adding in.
So if you use too many indicators, it can overcomplicate things.
Yeah, so remember I showed you that inequality indicator and it had about 10 different factors. While it gives you a nice rounded idea, it can become very complicated.
There's so many variables.
Yeah, and some countries you will not get that information from. So, as you saw when we were looking at the Gini coefficient and you did your choropleth mapping, there's sometimes the data's not available. Thank you, Kate. Okay, making sure you're adding this in, particularly those of you who have not done this.
What?
The index.
Is what it
The
measures.
index
Alright.
is effective in one country.
So the index,
Just type
what
that,
is
Isaac.
measured,
Isaac, go on
is
the computer and
effective
type
in
that.
one country.
Evie, your
He's
writing
going to
looks
explain
pretty
that to
there.
you.
Isaac, go on the computer and just type.
How did your handwriting change?
EV2 has two O's.
It changed, like...
Yeah, two. When you say too simple, yeah.
Grammar, I'll do
I was like,
Index and what it measures.
it's 3 too simple.
Okay.
Any questions of mine?
Is 3 too simple?
Is 3, 2, 1 simple?
Oh.
It's that. No, it's not.
No, it's
That was
double.
really funny, Michael.
That was funny.
Okay,
Con man is better.
so we'll wait till Isaac tells us his...
Jess found it funny.
Isaac's...
I was laughing at
You
how
can tell
funny
that
you
Isaac's
said it was.
father is a teacher, he's taken over.
Uh,
Okay, explain to us,
This is that
Isaac.
pen.
So the index and what it measures in one country is effective because, it's effective in what it shows. It shows pretty well amount of how the country's going. But to rank it against the rest of the world is not as effective because it's got to have a lot more factors to be incorporated into it.
Excellent. Good. And Evie,
My
question.
question's kind of just mirroring this info, but is 3 too simple? And how complicated do we want it to be, and will we even have the technology to collect and formulate the data?
Okay.
Or, yeah, data.
Good. Okay, so from what you have collected and from what what you've taken from other people's perspectives. I want you to consider these two questions. And I want you to you are going to do this in 5 to 10 minutes individually. I don't want to hear any talking. I want you to think about this.
What does Katie Centre say? Who was that?
I think it was interesting what that guy
Index-
said.
No, that was
I
Isaac.
can't even read it.
That was Isaac.
Okay, listening.
Yeah.
So, looking at your sheet, rather than me getting this back up because it will take me time. So those final two questions, specifically, what indicators would you focus on if you were trying to measure human development? I want you to think broadly. I want you to think sustainability when we're doing this. Really important. Think of that sort of Venn diagram of sustainability. And would you measure human development differently than the Human Development Index? Why or why not, and explain. All right, so they're very similar, the questions. All right, so that's what you're doing. You've got 5 minutes to answer those questions. I'll put it back up on the board in a moment. Individual work.